Hi, I'm Jason Diaz, neurodivergent existential psychologist and author. Today I'm here to talk to you about Transference, a novel by Kate Jonuska. This is contemporary fiction, really good contemporary fiction. There's a paranormal element, but it really just creates an unusual situation, not really something that gets explored, goes to world building, or has larger scale implications. So I'm not going to classify this as a supernatural sort of fiction. In 2018, I created a set of memes with the theme hashtag not you Derek. Derek was just a name basically drawn from a hat, and I used it to troll motivational memes. Here's some examples. Here's one, and have a look at this, and have a look at this one. When people asked, who's Derek, and why do you hate Derek so much, I just mysteriously respond, right? Derek knows who he is, and Derek knows what he did. It's a complete coincidence that the main POV character in this novel is named Derek. Total coincidence, but it does actually make this review delicious. So Derek, in this story, Derek Verbink, he's both a snooty psychiatrist fallen from high station to neighborhood drug dealer and a skeezy perv. As long as his misogyny lives in his own head, he doesn't see any particular problem in objectifying women. In psychotherapy, he goes through the motions, saying the right things at the right times, but in his head, he's really just imagining his patients naked in compromising positions. At the same time, his patients are all neighborhood women, really just doctor shopping so they can get prescriptions for Xanax. Everything changes when a new patient arrives who can read his mind. Her name is Janet. Janet also seeks oblivion, just a prescription for something to dull down sudden onset telepathy. She's so overwhelmed by the thoughts and feelings of others, she just wants relief. The trouble is, she can see inside his dirty, dirty mind. Derek is a walking, talking Me Too moment. All right. I'm a psychologist. My training is in psychotherapy. And I think Kate did a great job writing her psychiatrist from his point of view. I don't know how, but she did. Nothing in her bio suggests insider status here, but she really writes like an insider to the profession. Now, in the modern age, it's actually a little unusual for a psychiatrist to engage in therapeutic endeavors. Med school is expensive, and so's malpractice insurance. There's so much money in writing scripts for medication that why bother earning $100 or $150 an hour sitting with distressed people, doing talk therapy, knee to knee and eye to eye and face to face. Just why bother with that? That's such small potatoes for a medical doctor with a psychiatric specialty. This particular psychiatrist, though, is inconvenienced. He did a bad, bad thing. Derek had sex with a patient. In Colorado, that's a prison time sort of offense. But because of Derek's privilege, he avoids the big penalty, just gets booted from his practice, and ends up stuck doing therapy out of his home office like a plebeian. All right. The word transference used in the title here is a Freudian psychoanalytic sort of term. Doesn't come up explicitly in the story, for the psychoanalysis fans. It means when the patient responds to the therapist as though the therapist were someone else they have a relationship with. Maybe the patient paints you as their father and treats you like their father, and then when the therapist responds as though they were the person they're being treated like, that's called countertransference. So Freud would always present himself as an ambiguous stimulus sitting outside the view of the patient. And at least on paper, not interacting that much, so that the patient could project onto him and create that transference reaction. Here, Derek, the doctor, is anything but ambiguous. He's a repulsive toad. The relationship isn't any more complicated than that. His patient, though, Janet, turns out to be nearly as repulsive as Derek. She's judgmental, resorts almost instantly to blackmail, and degrades poor Derek almost every chance she gets. When she can't get her way, she stalks him, as actually happened to one of Carl Rogers' pa- uh, uh, patients, famously. He was stalked by her for a significant period of time, ended up running away on vacation to get rid of her. And Janet, she mercilessly stalks Derek, demanding an apology at one point. Here we kind of get to issues of redemption. And it's a theme cropping up lately in a lot of indie lit. This starting really in 2018, I'm seeing this as a big indie lit trend. Can a repulsive man like Derek be rehabilitated? Can we have empathy for Derek, or at least compassion? Think of all the men who've gone away recently under pressure from hashtag me too, hashtag times up. I'm thinking especially of Louis C.K. Now, some of this man's comedy is really soulful. It's totally brilliant. But the man is undeniably a complete toad. Can we try to understand why he is as he is? Should we care? Is he allowed to apologize and re enter the public scene? Am I allowed to go on YouTube and laugh at the stand up bit where his daughter keeps asking him, why, why in this infinitely regressive sequence? All that's rhetorical, of course. Please don't troll me with your hypotheticals about Louis C.K. Anyway, how could we rehab somebody with habitually misogynistic thoughts? Jonuska throws him together with a telepath who he genuinely wants to help. He quickly learns to redirect his own unconscious process with intentional meditations. The meditations help Janet calm down, and he quickly becomes her safe haven. Let's switch gears to Dexter real fast. Dexter is one of my favorite literary characters, and Jeff Lindsay, who wrote the Dexter series of novels, is also a pretty neat cat. Jeff's another author who understands psychology without being a psychologist. Dexter is always looking for someone to whom he can reveal his true self. What we're afraid of as humans is that people will, if they get a glimpse under our performed presentations of self, believe we are monsters. Dexter is a literal monster, and so his fear is well founded. Everyone who learns either tries to kill him, arrest him, or use him. Now, Derek's pretty gross. He isn't a monster, but he's hardly sympathetic. His patient doesn't accept him. She tries to use him, and perhaps because he's disgusting, has no problem mistreating him. But she does see him. And she does, in her way, accept him, at least provisionally. She accepts his function while rejecting his behavior. In this case, because his thoughts are visible, his thoughts qualify as behavior. In the end, without really trying to, Derek changes his attitudes towards women. He examines his childhood traumas, very Freudian, manages his thoughts, and comes through a crucible changed. We have some explicit insight at work here. For a deeper discussion of what it means to have implicit versus explicit insight, maybe have a look at another review I did. It's called What is Insight? I'll link it here. And he also experiences some more noetic change. Right now, we have a national crisis on our hands. When the current president leaves office, that crisis won't be over. In some ways, it will be just the beginning. I just finished writing a novel called Waking the Dead about what happens when the people around you become monstrous. When awakened with a serum back to their humanity, can they be accepted back into the fold? I'm not the first person to finish telling such a story because we're wondering this right now. What are we doing with all of our family members and coworkers and Facebook friends and Twitter friends who've completely alienated us with just disgusting behavior? The current president of the United States, for these reasons, is completely toxic. People voted for him and continue to support him despite explicitly racist and sexist comments and explicitly homophobic, transphobic policies. He's mobilized hate for Muslims, immigrants and refugees, Mexicans, the queer community, people of color generally. Look, when he's gone, what are we to do with the people who continue to rationalize supporting him? Can we understand them, have empathy, or even just plain compassion? Should we try? And the more we find them disgusting, does that do anything to our capacity to help? All right, so this has been a review of Kate Jonuska's Transference. My name is Jason Diaz, and perhaps you'll consider dropping by my website. It's jasondiazauthor.com, or find me on Amazon. Thanks very much for your kind attention, and I'll talk to you the next time I read a really good book.